Hey guys, PokePixel here. I've recently been in the mood to play some 2000s racing games. However, while my Xbox One's fine, I have no way of plugging it into my big screen TV without shoddy converters, and my PS2 has hit the dust a long time ago. So I had a look at some era-appropriate gaming laptops. I found a beautiful Dell Inspiron, the same one that Nathan made a video on, but even higher spec. However, he unfortunately, but not unsurprisingly, sold rather quickly. I recommend checking that video out, the laptop is a beast. So I managed to find something even better. This is the Pavilion DV5, HP's ultimate entertainment laptop from 2008. With the modern day trend of giving you less and making you pay more, the old HP is truly a breath of fresh air. For the £80 I paid for it, I got a laptop with an Intel Core 2 Duo P7350, a GeForce 9600M GT graphics card, a Blu-ray drive, and a 16x10 HD screen. In terms of ports, on the left side, we can see a VGA port expansion Type 3 for the docking station. This is actually a rather cool docking station, giving you a 2.1 speaker setup with digital out, 6 extra USB slots and a hard drive caddy. The dock also acts as a laptop stand, and with the supplied wireless keyboard and mouse, this really was a way to turn this portable machine into a decent desktop replacement for the everyday man. And best of all, the cable supplied power, so it really was like a Type-C dock of its time. Moving along the ports, we have an Ethernet jack, HDMI, 2 USB ports, one of which is an eSATA port. We also have Firewire connecting an old digital tape camera, an SD card reader and an express card slot that houses a media remote for the laptop. How cool is that? I would kill for laptops to come with remotes now without having to buy external keyboards, and the remote fully works with Kodi. It's like Kodi was built specifically for this remote. On the front we have indicator lights, a microphone jack and 2 headphone jacks. Yeah, nowadays we look to have one, but HP gave you 2, presumably for watching movies with a friend or a partner. On the right side, oh dear. Yeah, unfortunately the seller, as lovely as he was, sent the laptop with Yodel, who every person living in Britain knows is the worst shipping company. The HP doesn't have the most reliable track record for me, but the fact that this laptop still works after 13 plus years, doesn't overheat, and managed to work despite such heavy damage really shows that HP cared for the medium to upper range price customers. Anyway, we have the aforementioned Blu-ray drive, a modem and a DC jack. You can also spec this laptop with composite out. The trend of giving you more continues at the bottom of a laptop, where we have multiple easy to access hatches, with RAM, hard drive, Wi-Fi, mini card and the battery being easily upgradable. The previous owner upgraded the laptop with the maximum 4GB of RAM. On the top of the shiny black textured plastic, we have a light up HP logo, which becomes shiny when turned off. And when we open it up, look at that, it's Apple's Touch Bar, but back in 2008. You have MIDI controls and volume controls on a pretty capacitive panel. The laptop is silver inside, and while the curves, the thickness, the heft and the gloss show that this is an old laptop, it's actually quite good looking as far as Vista/Windows 7 laptops are concerned. The keyboard is like no other modern keyboard on a laptop. The travel is quite deep, so while it's a little bit difficult to get used to, it feels super satisfying to type on. Sadly, while the trackpad, while looking nice, is your standard 2000 Synaptics affair, it's just too small, and I'm not a fan of the scroll bar either. The last owner put Windows 10 on this laptop, however I downgraded to Windows 7, as it's the OS that's most compatible with what I need it to do. There are a few missing drivers on Windows 7, however the only thing that I can tell doesn't work is the inbuilt Wi-Fi. The seller included a MediaTek Wi-Fi USB which works really well, provided I move away from other electronics that cause interference. The laptop has an option to turn the fan off if the CPU is below 60 degrees, something HP has been doing at that time. However, when using the laptop, the fan does get pretty loud. It looks like a single fan is cooling both the CPU and the GPU, so it's no surprise. And of course, the thermal paste is likely very crusty now, although I doubt there's any chance of me opening up the laptop without further damaging it. The display is alright, I've used worse screens back in the day, though compared to modern displays it's not ideal. The resolution is perfectly fine for general use, items fit on screen and there is no screen door effect from a normal viewing distance. It's mainly the viewing angles and the lack of saturation I have a problem with, and the fact you can hear a whine from the display, and the fact it has to warm up to get to full brightness. The speak quality is not bad for an old laptop. It gets loud enough, and while it's lacking in bass, the sound isn't too tinny either, it's rather well balanced. The headphone jack for the time is great too. It's loud, it's got some punch to it, you can change it to be high res in Windows settings. It's probably not the most detailed sound in the world, but when recording vinyl from the HP, I couldn't hear a quality difference between it and my Asus. For web browsing, this ancient CPU still holds up great, provided you have an ad blocker, as the modern ad-ridden internet is too much for this old fella. Also, with the 3GB of RAM that is available to the user, don't expect to get away with more than 2 tabs or so. YouTube can handle 1080p 30 and 720p 60fps, but nothing higher than that. I tried Linux Mint on the HP and wow, Wi-Fi drivers work no problem, and the network speed is excellent. The touchpad works, including the media play button which does not work in Windows. Even the remote control works, although not fully. It's not noticeably faster on Linux, especially with a hard drive. It doesn't seem to run cooler either, but it is quite good for Plex. In terms of gaming, it manages to play games from 2007 and below perfectly fine. Pro Street runs at high settings at 800p and 30fps, albeit with some frame drops. Underground 2 from 2004 also plays fine at the highest setting at 800p, however you will have to turn down anti-aliasing. Crash Time Redline Edition, a 2017 remake of the 2006 classic, also runs at the highest setting with no problem. Sega Rally from 2007 runs fine after installing the latest patch, as the base version seemed to run at 2x speed. I probably wouldn't go above 2008 in terms of gaming on this laptop, which is perfect as that 2000 to 2008 era is the one I'm trying to cover. And I'm certainly not going to try running Fortnite and GTA 5 so I can point and laugh at the fact that a 14-year-old laptop struggles at modern games. Looking at Linux, it seems the battery has lost about 50% of its original capacity. Ouch. It still lasts about an hour though, so it's not the worst. And of course, you can just replace the battery yourself. This laptop would have originally cost around 800 to 850 euro, and that's for the model without the modem, TV out, Blu-ray drive or the remote control. So this laptop could easily cost over 1000 euro without calculating inflation, which would make it close to 1.2k euro. So now we can start to understand what audience HP had in mind. The plastic MacBook from a year later would have cost around 1000 euro, and certainly did not give you 2 headphone jacks, express card, a remote, a Blu-ray drive, HDMI, an SD card slot, so on. Yes, I admit, comparing Apple to HP is like comparing apples to oranges, since historically Apple has always charged more than the competition. But this comparison shows how much more you got with the HP, even if you had to sacrifice things like a decent touchpad or good battery life. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.